Hello everyone, welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And I figured we would take a quick look at the video showing a CV90 assaulting Russian positions within Russia itself. And I was curious if I could figure out where this took place. I'm not entirely convinced I have, but in the video that we will take a look at, we can see uh, CV90 coming in this way and then crossing this field. This is the CV90 moving across here. Uh, son of a. And as you can see, here you have windbreaks right next to a highway, more windbreaks, and here you have a weird squared patch of forest wooded area with trees and what have you. And that kind of gave me a feature to look for on Google Earth. And this battle supposedly took place somewhere outside of Veseloia, and here is Veseloia. This Novyaput, this is where Ukraine pushed in into Russia and attacked Veseloia from the south. We have then learned that they also pushed in over here to the east. We have confirmed Ukrainian presence up here, and one of the mappers said that Ukraine had pushed out this way. And that is where we find this weird thing, right? So if we zoom in on that, take a look. Squared patch of things out in the farm, out on a farm field. Trees, mainly trees here. Kind of lines up with that, doesn't it? And here we have white. It appears to be white. Something white behind the tree line, behind the windbreak. And what do we have behind this windbreak? Buildings that appear to be white. So I think I've located where this battle takes place, or this engagement rather, and it's along this highway, which is kind of strange because you would imagine that the Ukrainians would want to move this way into Veseloia. But here they appear to be moving back and then facing north, attacking targets in this tree line, and then the CV90 pushes across the open field. It could be that they were part of a push towards Veseloia, and then they realized that they had enemies behind them, and they had to go back and deal with that threat. That could be the case. More importantly, and more significantly, beyond anything else, this confirms, if I'm correct, that we have Ukrainians on this road here. They've moved up east of Veseloia. This is the main supply route leading from Glushkovo into Veseloia, and Ukraine is operating on this highway and have cut the supplies to Veseloia, meaning Russia has to rely on muddy dirt paths to bring in supplies and reinforcements to Veseloia. So now we have confirmed that Ukraine is operating basically south and east of Veseloia, and that is quite significant for the Ukrainian effort to take this town. But anyway, enough of that. Now it's time for the video, I believe. Right, so here we have vehicles on move. 1, 2, 3. We have a vehicle back here, and this is a CV90 advancing. Here we have the tank on that road I was talking about, firing northward, if I'm correct. It has a cope cage on it, and then we have a CV90 that moves up next to it. Again, moving away from Veseloia, if I'm correct. CV90 goes across the ditch and is now heading in the direction where the tank is firing. CV90 is firing on the move, crossing this massive field, gets across, and here we have infantry dismounting, and for some reason they're not rushing into the tree line. CV90 is firing at the targets downrange, and this is when that happens. A drone strikes the CV90. The CV90 rolls on and takes another hit, and moves on, and here we have some images of destroyed Ukrainian vehicles. But importantly, when we take a look here, we have a CV90 that appears to be abandoned. What is important with these strikes, if you compare it to BMPs and what have you, did you see that CV90 detonate just because a drone happened to be in the same postal area? No. The CV90 took 2 direct hits, it did not detonate, and it did not send its turret flying off into orbit to crash into the moon. Right? Major significant difference between Russian vehicles and in this case a Swedish vehicle, and the crew more than likely survived to fight another day. Some thoughts though on what's happening here. Here we can see the tank is right out on the road in the open, not in cover whatsoever, firing at potential targets north of his position. We can see the CV90 is moving around behind him to not end up in the field of fire, and it's coming up, pushing up the brim of the road to reach the road itself. Comes up, covers in different direction. Tank is firing across the field. Here you can see the cope cage, and then the CV90 moves down into the ditch to begin the assault across the field. And what I'm wondering is why the tank is so out in the open, so exposed, because it feels natural to me that it would be positioned down here and just rolling up, trying to peek over the edge here with the turret and the gun, like so. This is what you usually do. This is called hull down, when you utilize terrain and hide the vehicle behind terrain, and you just reveal the turret and the gun right above the terrain feature. So it's incredibly difficult for the enemy to actually shoot at you if you do this. But if you take a look at how the CV90 kind of dives into the field, maybe the case is that it's too steep of an angle for the tank to utilize this road as a cover. If he backs down this way, maybe he'll only be looking at the sky, and he is unable to engage the enemy. And here we have the CV90 as it's pushing across, and I thought this was kind of funny. It opens fire. Here you can actually see the round itself, and it falls short. He fires straight into the ground by the looks of it. And I don't think it's the Sabo parts flying off either. I think that is actually the actual round going into the ground too short for whatever reason. But maybe it is one of the Sabo parts, the three, how do you describe it? But that would mean he fired a dart anti-tank round. So no. I think that is the high explosive round, and it actually falls short. Anyway, and when they are across, of course, they get hit by this drone, and the vehicle survives, and it can move on basically just a few seconds after being hit. And here we have a vehicle. If it's the same, who can tell? But it appears as if the hatches are open. Rear hatch seems to be open as well, so it's more than likely abandoned at this point. I mean, this is nothing strange. It's a war. There will be losses, and CV90s are not invulnerable. They will be taken out eventually. So some excellent graphics here by yours truly. So we have the tank. He's firing across this field at targets, and the CV90 moves up behind him and then begins to push. It fires as well as it's moving, and they're both firing in the same direction by the looks of it. So the question is, do they have targets here, or are they firing just to clear the area for the CV90 as it reaches across to dismount troops into the windbreak, into the tree line. Unclear, but I think the how we see the dismounts behave once they have reached is an indication that we don't have all that many enemies in this area, to be honest. Because once the CV90 is in position and we see these forces, it's not like they're rushing into the tree line, opening fire and what have you. It's almost as if they're unloading the CV90, so maybe they're trying to set up shop to remember, if I'm correct, then Veseloye is this way, if you follow the road up here. So maybe they're gonna set up shop to defend the Ukrainian rear from potential Russian counterattacks from behind, right? So they're gonna set up shop here with troops, keeping an eye on things, making sure Russia is not moving up this way and what have you. So it's not like they're in a terrible rush when you watch the video. And of course, that is the issue in this day and age with drone warfare, because it takes time for them to dismount, it takes time for them to set things up, and that allows a drone to fly in and smash into and hit a CV90. Interestingly, the CV90 is firing this way, which should indicate that we have Russians down this way. And more than likely the tank is also firing at those same targets, unless it has already left. So the road, here we have that square patch thing and white in the background. White could be the buildings, square patch thing for with the big trees, right? So potentially we have the Leo 2 and the STR F90 Forte CV90 is pushing this way, and then they're facing north, firing at targets over here, would be my guess. CV90 pushes across, dismounts troops, and starts firing this way, and I'm assuming that the tank, the Leo 2, is also engaging the same targets, since the CV90 is firing at something over here. And where is this? Well, this is Veseloye. This highway here continues towards Glushkovo, and it could be that Ukraine was pushing in and they needed to secure the rear, so they just fired into the tree line to make sure it was clear of enemies once the CV90 reached its destination, and the dismounts could then walk into the forest without getting shot at. Or they were attacking Veseloye and Russians came up behind them. The tank and the CV90 was dispatched to deal with this threat, and dismounted troops to clear out the windbreak, or this location where you had Russians, and then you had more Russians over here, being a further threat to the rear of the Ukrainian lines, and the CV90 was engaging them as well. And then the drones appeared and flew in and hit the CV90. So that is what I think happened, or something along those lines. And yeah, like I said, this thing here, this patch here, square with big trees, appears to be this location. So that is why I think this is where we had that engagement. That's it. That's my closer look at that video. And what I think is the most interesting is if I'm correct with the location, because that confirms that Ukraine is well indeed operating east of Veseloye, and that means they have Veseloye outflanked on two sides at the moment and are more than likely in control of all territory between Veseloye and the border. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one and that you found it interesting. I hope I'll see you in the next one. As always, gå på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell. And ur vägen, moskeviter, känn hur det svenska stålet biter.